The Washington Commanders fans are hype right now as they are coming off an amazing victory on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals. But the Arizona Cardinals fans are looking to get some revenge over the Commanders' offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, in this Week 4 matchup here that I think a lot of us can, if we're being completely honest, probably are shocked on how excited that we are to actually watch these two teams play, especially too considering what a lot of people thought of them going into the season. So Ryan and I, we're going to break down this matchup here Week 4, the matchups within the game that you need to watch, and at the very end of the video, provide our predictions and why we think those teams are going to win. But before we do that, we have a goal of getting to 100 new subscribers during this Week 4 prediction video series, and any help is greatly appreciated. So while we're getting into it, go ahead and subscribe to the Tracy Take, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win this game and why. So Ryan, we're recording this right after the Commanders' victory over the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday night, and what a stellar performance by Jaden Daniels. And it's not even like the Bengals offense played that poorly. I think the Bengals defense sucked it up pretty badly. But Jaden Daniels made them look awful. That entire offense made them look awful, scoring on every single possession that they had outside of the kneel down in the first half, which I'm not even counting that really as a drive. But great performance overall. Nearly perfect, actually. What's the perfect QBR?
It's like 157.
I mean, he was really close. 21 for 23, 254 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And one of those incompletions that he had was a wide open touchdown pass to Terry McLaurin as well, which they ended up scoring on that drive anyways. I don't remember how they scored. I just know that they did. And then on the flip side, the Cardinals, they have had a tough schedule so far to start off the season, going on the road to Buffalo, which they played very closely. Destroyed their division rival and the Los Angeles Rams, and then barely lost to the Detroit Lions. Some people might consider them one of the best teams in the NFC, and they played them really tough as well, hold on to just 20 points. So I kind of throw that over to you. What do you think of both of these two teams entering this Week 4 matchup?
Yeah, I think starting with the Arizona Cardinals, I think that last year they were probably like the fan favorite. They were just such a fun team to watch. They went into every game and they tried so hard and they kept a lot of games close. They just didn't have enough talent. This year they have a little bit more talent. You can kind of see the building blocks that kind of coming together. Maybe not a full-on like playoff contender yet. I think they're definitely in like that wild card race type of team, but this is definitely a very good team. Kyler Murray's playing well. Marvin Harrison Jr. had a really good game in Week 2, and I believe he followed that up with a good performance this week as well, or last week. And so, like, they're continuing to build. I did see Trey McBride left the game with an injury. It was a
concussion.
A concussion, yeah. So he's in concussion protocol, so hopefully he can come back and be healthy for this matchup. But this offensive line is doing better. They're running the ball well with James Conner. And so this is a hard to beat Cardinals team. This defense is playing pretty well. They were able to stymie this Lions offense for a good bit of 4 quarters. And I think that is going to be really crucial coming into this matchup against the Commanders, because this is a hard team to stop. They're very crafty with the way they get Jaden Daniels in space. They have really quick weapons outside. Cliff Kingsbury does a good job of scheming things up. We saw a couple weeks ago, they did a really good job of moving the ball between the 20s. They just couldn't quite convert in the red zone. Whereas this week we saw them, they figured out how to convert in the red zone. And not to take anything away from the Commanders, I do think now looking at the two teams that they were playing, the Giants have a pretty good defense. And I do not think that the Cincinnati Bengals would qualify as a good defense by NFL standards, especially through the first few weeks. So going to be interesting to see like how that win looks going forward throughout the season. But still, that is a perennial playoff team in the Cincinnati Bengals. That's a good win for the Washington Commanders and puts them at 2-1 on the year, which I did not think that they would be at this point in the season. But defensively, definitely still some liabilities, I think, to say the least. And yeah, I think this is going to be a fun shootout style game.
Oh yeah, this is going to be. I'm going to think a high scoring matchup here. So we'll talk about that more here in a second. But I will say, if you do want to put a couple bucks down on this game, or if you want to check out the over under, I would probably lean toward the over depending on what it is. Check out the link down below. BetUS has a bunch of great promotions going on right now for first-time players. So you can take a look at the odds for this game and all the other NFL Week 4 matchups that's going on. And this is going to be interesting. The odds-wise, I'm very curious to see who is going to be the favorite. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe this is a pick-em type game, maybe 1 point favorite for the Cardinals since they're at home, maybe. And they've had a little bit of a tougher schedule, I would say. But that might also not be fair to the Commanders, depending on how some of these other teams face out. But in general, though, I think it's going to be a close matchup. I'm curious what the over-under is going to be, absolutely, just because when I look at this as well, the Commanders still don't have a good defense. They didn't put up a good performance at all against the Cincinnati Bengals. It took a perfect game from Jaden Daniels and this Washington offense to make them have the lead, because in general, I would say the Bengals kind of did what they wanted against this Commanders defense. And it's really the big difference was execution in the red zone. The Bengals missed a field goal, and I know it wasn't the red zone, but still missed a field goal. Then they got in the red zone, then had to end up satisfying for a field goal before that. And there's no punts in this game also. So the Bengals were pretty much able to move the ball down the field pretty consistently. Now, their offense is totally different than the Arizona Cardinals offense. And I think one of the things that's going to be concern to watch for this Commanders team is Cardinals' ability to run the ball. Through 3 games, they are 9th overall in rushing yards on the season. I will say, too, that's 9th, and that is with a game against the Bengals. Against the Lions. But they only had 77 rushing yards, and the Lions have one of the best rushing defenses in the league. So them being 9th might be a little skewed. So that, to me, is, I think, going to be Commanders' number one factor. Is they got to stop the run, because if the Cardinals are able to run the ball, it's going to only open the passing game. And I'm sorry, this Commanders' passing defense still is, I won't say atrocious, but potentially getting there. So it's still not good. They're, I think, let me double check this, 31st overall passing yards allowed through 3 games in the season. I will say, too, that is including a Daniel Jones-led New York Giants offense, which maybe could look good depending on how the Giants end up panning out as well. But if the Commanders aren't able to stop the run, I think it's going to be that's going to require another perfect game from this Commanders team. So that to me, I think is going to be the biggest X factor. What are some of the other key matchups, Ryan, that you think that we need to watch within this game?
Yeah, the other one is going to be, can they keep Jade Daniels in the pocket? I think that's going to be the biggest matchup on.
When you say they, are you talking about the Cardinals defense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can the Cardinals keep Jaden Daniels in the pocket? I think you look at a lot of the damage that he was able to do. There were multiple 3rd down conversions where he was just able to sneak out of the pocket, or maybe it was designed this way, but he got out of the pocket, and then he basically put a linebacker in a situation where he's like, well, you can cover me, and then I'll throw the 5-yard drag route to Terry McLaurin or the Ben Sinnott or whoever, and then like we get the first down. Or he's like, so he did that a lot against the Bengals. They've been doing that a lot so far this season. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see what can Jonathan Gannon draw up to keep Jaden Daniels in the pocket, and also covering Terry McLaurin down the field. He had a big game against the Bengals tonight. He had 2 really big explosive plays, one of which was for a touchdown. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how can they scheme up ways to prevent the big play to Terry McLaurin and keep Jaden Daniels in the pocket. Also, a young quarterback in his 4th start. I think it's going to be very important. Make him get through his progressions, give him some looks that he hasn't seen, and maybe confuse him a little bit, and he'll give a couple to you. So I think that's going to be very important for this matchup.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. A lot of factors to kind of think of, and I think that's one to get a good point. It's going to be Budda Baker in this Cardinal secondary versus Terry McLaurin. Just the entire Commanders receiving room as well, because I think that was the thing that might have really excited me the most when looking at this Commanders offense. Is it was 4 catches for McLaurin, 3 for Luke McCaffrey, 5 for Zach Ertz, 3 for Noah Brown, 2 for Austin Eckler, who was ruled out with a concussion, so his status will need to be watched. So just very spread out overall target wise. It wasn't solely focused on Terry McLaurin, but that definitely opened up the top for this Commanders offense, which then made everything underneath much easier to complete. So it's going to be how is Buda Baker and this one, how's his status doing? Because I know he got a little banged up during this Lions game, which I'm pretty sure he's going to be okay, but that's still just something to monitor throughout the week. But how are they going to be able to contain the deep ball? And then to your point as well, make sure Jaden Daniels also stays contained as well, because you don't want him utilizing his legs. That's just going to be tough for everybody. But I think the same, though, can be said towards Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals as well. And so just because how is this Commanders defense going to be able to contain Kyler Murray? I think it's going to be a fun little grudge match going up against Cliff Kingsbury, the former head coach there. So I think it's going to be a phenomenal game. One, I'll be completely honest, I don't think anybody was really expecting to have on their radar coming into this week. But after a stellar performance like that, the Cardinals, I think, have been playing well, just have had a tough schedule so far. And I know it's only week 4, but as you mentioned, playoff implications between both these teams, because Commanders keep playing like this. Not only do I think they potentially are fighting for a wild card, but potentially even the division going up against the Eagles and the Cowboys as well. So I think let's kind of get into.
Are they leading the division right now?
I think they are leading the division right now. Yep, they're the 4th seed as of right now, with the Eagles the 6th seed as a wild card. So super early on in the season.
Yeah.
But still, you want to rack up these wins, especially against people in your conference, just to have that tiebreaker just in case. So let's go to predictions, and I will go first here, actually. I am going to stick with the home team here. I think it was a great performance by Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. However, I also think it was just equally just a horrible performance by the Cincinnati Bengals defense as well. I'm curious how this Commanders defense is going to also be able to contain Kyler Murray as well. I think, and not only just Kyler Murray, but also James Conner as well. I'm not convinced this Commanders really have a good run defense. They are only ranked 17th overall in rushing yards allowed. I think it's also, too, because defenses know they can throw whenever and however and for how far they want to throw against this Commanders defense. So I think that's going to be skewed a little bit. I think James Conner is going to have a really good game against them, which is going to open things up in the passing game. And I think Jaden Daniels and the Commanders are going to come down to earth just enough for the Cardinals to sneak out a 31-28 victory.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the home team also. My biggest thing is I don't have a lot of faith in the Cincinnati Bengals defense, and the game on Monday night played perfectly into the Commanders' hands. It was a high-scoring matchup. They got to air the ball out. Jaden Daniels got to get outside the pocket, and I don't think Jonathan Gannon is going to let them really do any of those things. He's going to make them go to their 3rd, 4th options, and this Cardinals defense is much better than that Cincinnati Bengals defense.
Yeah,
and so I get it's great to be riding high on a win.
I don't know if I agree with that. They're much better than I think the Cardinals defense still is young. I think maybe they're better coached.
They're definitely they're definitely better coached, and I also think like this secondary is better than the Bengals. Like it's a good NFL defense. Like they're not gonna let Jaden Daniels go 21 of 23 for 260 yards and 2 touchdowns in his 3rd NFL start.
And to your point, they are statistically average through 3 games, 17 total yards allowed. Sorry, 17th overall in total yards allowed, 16th overall in passing, 19th overall in rushing. And while the Bengals are, their stats are pretty. Am I on defense right? Even though the Bengals actually are statistically pretty good also. And so this might be an outlier for them as well. But I would think, to be fair to your point, though, is the Cardinals defense overall is still statistically pretty average.
Yeah, and I don't think Jonathan Gannon is going to let a rookie quarterback in his 4th start do what he was able to do in his 3rd start against the Bengals. And I could be totally wrong, and I could be eating my words on that. But I just think it's going to be a lot harder against a more competent defense for Jaden Daniels in this Washington Commanders offense. And this Commanders defense is just absolutely abysmal. Like they are really bad. So
they're pretty tough. Yeah. Or rough, I should say.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. We'll wrap this one up here. We are both taking the Arizona Cardinals in this matchup. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It's the best way to help out the channel. And while you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Washington Commanders? Will it be the Arizona Cardinals? And that we'll see you guys next time.